Good morning and welcome to StudyIQ. I am Prashant Pavani. I hope you all are doing good, my dear friends. Today is Sunday, so I'm sure you all are enjoying your Sunday, isn't it? Now let's have a positive start first. Work out your own salvation. Do not depend on others, has been said by Lord Buddha. This was his last statement. Apodipo Bhava, something similar to that. With this, dear friends, I would like to remind all of you that today is the last date of up to 50% discount that you are getting on our pen drive and tablet courses. To find out more about it, check out StudyIQ.com. But I would recommend you guys to make the most out of this up to 50% discount. I will share PDF of today's lecture for you guys on my Facebook and Twitter handle, and I will request you guys to share it with other people as well. Don't forget to hit the like button if you learn something from today's discussion. Now, the first item that we have on our table today is very important. It is associated with this country called Seychelles. This country, you find it. First of all, let me show you where exactly you find this country. So here you can see this is Indian Ocean, right? And if you come down a little bit on the southern side of Maldives, not southern side of Maldives, but southern side of our country, you find Maldives. And from Maldives, if you go towards south western side, right, then you reach here. This is Seychelles here. I have some more maps. I will show you exactly where it is. So this is Seychelles here. It is in Indian Ocean. You can see Tanzania here. And if you look at this map, then I'm sure it's easy for you guys to locate where exactly it is. This is Assumption Island that is in news, and this is your Seychelles, right? So you have this parts of this island, or parts of this Seychelles is here, and this Assumption Island is bit on the southern side. So why it is in news and why we are discussing and locating this particular Assumption Island? This is a very, you can say, unique name, right? It's not a sort of any sort of assumption that we are making. The name itself is Assumption Island. Now, if we go back in the history of India and Seychelles, you find that we are very close to each other in terms of culture. We have shared history with each other, right? Most of the people living in Seychelles, they have a sort of connection with India because they migrated over there some 6-7 generations ago. Anyways, so both these countries earlier on decided that India will set up a military base or naval base in this Assumption Island of Seychelles. Now, what we are learning that President Denis Faure, he has decided that he is going to cancel this agreement. He's not going to send this agreement or this deal for the parliament to discuss, right? He is going to cancel this. He has basically refused India to go ahead and build a naval base in his country. Now, why this particular item is important? The thing is, you see here, this is British Indian Ocean territory. So UK becomes a stakeholder of Indian Ocean. Then we know, I'm sure you would be aware about this thing, that this piece of island is handed over to USA for a long-term basis by UK. Then we have discussed about this thing English version of this Hindu. I have talked about this thing in detail. We did in-depth analysis when French president was here. I told you about France has this Reunion Islands and other islands nearby Madagascar. So France again is a stakeholder in Indian Ocean. Now, we all know very well, very briefly, I would say, you know it very well, what's going on with China, BRI, and this a string of pearls. It is building this military base in different parts of Indian Ocean. And apart from that, you have this problem of this thing called piracy, right? Piracy is a big issue. So keeping in mind all these different things, right? Strategic importance, piracy issue, navigation, free navigation, and all these things. And also to make sure that we don't want Indian Ocean to become a playground for these powerful countries. May it be France, may it be Russia, may it be China, may it be USA. We don't want them to create any troubles. Now, you can associate these things that we have discussed a couple of days ago regarding Quad and India's rejection of Australia's entry into Malabar exercise, right? I have discussed this thing in the Hindi version, which I have just recorded before this lecture. And the reason is because with the Hindi students I do interact only once a week, but with you guys I do interact every single day, isn't it? Every single day of the week. So I'm sure you all are aware about this background, so I'm not going into too much details here, right? So this is this is what it's going on, and now they have rejected it. Now it's not that we have just started negotiating this thing with this Seychelles, right? Discussions were going on since 2003, but it got formalized back in 2015 when Prime Minister visited this country. Apart from that, our two foreign secretaries as well, they tried their level best to make sure that they convince this country of Seychelles so that they can allow us to build this military base. Apart from that, when opposition leader of Seychelles, he was here in India at that point of time as well, our president, our MEA, tried their level best to explain this India's position and why India is interested in building this naval base in Seychelles, but this was rejected. He said that Seychelles would never accept any naval base of any country, be it USA or India or any other country. So anyways, it's their choice, right? But this is going to be a bit of blow for our country. We are of course disappointed with this thing if we look at it at from strategic point of view. But what we can do is that we can help Seychelles to make sure that they have all this gas and everything through which they can take over to this or take down this piracy and all these issues that are going on. Moving on to another item, this is I'll give you a small background story. You find this article in today's front page of Hindu. It's basically about Richard Barlow. Now, Richard Barlow is, or he was, a CIA agent. Is the main person who discovered this links between Pakistan and North Korea as far as this nuclear weapons is concerned. Very important exposure done by this person. But at present, if you look at his situation, he's living in a very sad state. He's living on charity. He's not having any pension or any money coming in. He's living in a very poor state. He's basically a pauper. Pauper basically means a beggar. So recently when Mr. Trump was interacting with Kim Jong-un, at that point of time he talked about Richard Barlow. He used his name as a reference, and this is a sort of ray of hope for this person, Richard Barlow, who tried his level best to expose this nexus between Pakistan and North Korea. I'm not sure if you are aware about this thing, but it was Benazir Bhutto who took this blueprint of nuclear weapons and she visited North Korea. And it is said that China helped Pakistan and Pakistan helped North Korea to develop this nuclear weapons. And today we see, right, we are witnessing basically these troubles that are going on around the world because of this nuclear weapon. Recently, we saw this Kim Jong-un and Mr. Trump. They interacted with each other. They had a historic meeting with each other. But still, we cannot say that things are sorted out for good. Then you have countries like Iran, and their issues are also going on and on. So it's a big problem. Nuclear bombs and other things are a bit of a problem if you see it from this side. And if you see when we see that troublemaking countries, if they are holding this or if they achieve this technology, right, then they will misbehave, and then we have to listen to them and we have to give them a deal. So this is again you can say a sort of tactic that these countries are using, but let's hope that we head towards more peace and denuclearization. Now, dear friends, yesterday we talked about this editorial, right? It is about Rising Kashmir. The editor, he was killed, and today you find a very interesting story about this. Even when he was shot at that point of time, of course, people were disturbed. People who were working with this Rising Kashmir, who were part of this Rising Kashmir newspaper, they were disturbed naturally, of course. But later on, they decided that they should take this baton, and they decided that they will make sure the show goes on. And back in 2015, when this gentleman who is no more between us, when he got this stroke, at that point of time, he said that he wanted to see this institution run even when he was down. This was a third or fourth attempt, but sadly, some 16 bullets were pumped into his body, which is very sad. But anyways, right, hats off to these people. And you can imagine his leadership, the way or the working culture of this organization. Sometimes I wish that we have same sort of enthusiasm in our government departments. If just imagine if we have this sort of, if we can beg your pardon, if we can add or you can inject or inculcate this sort of work culture or human resources in our government department, then we can achieve miracles. Decision on extending cease operations in Jammu and Kashmir will be taken today. Now, suspension of operation was going on because of this Ramzan month, and now we are analyzing what we have got from this ceasefire, nearly a month-long ceasefire. We have got some figures. 65 incidents of stone pelting were reported from May 16 to June 16. If we go back and see January, March, April was very violent, 169 incident. And the DGP of Jammu and Kashmir, Mr. Vaid, has said that because of this ceasefire SOO, because of this thing, these Hurriyat leaders were not able to give a call for Bandh and strike, and they were able to break, the administration was able to break this vicious cycle and this nexus. So based on this goods and bads or merits and demerits, or what we have learned from it and what we have achieved, what we have lost, all these things will be calculated, because Amarnath Yatra is just going to commence. The security preparedness for it will commence on from June 28th. So let's hope that we, whatever, right, whether they want to continue it or they want to drop it, at the end of the day, we want to see peace in our country. Himalayan campaign against plastic. Now, tourism is a sector that has immense potential for creating jobs for our youngsters. We have talked about this thing many a times, and when I say many a times, when I say that we have talked about this thing, new students, please don't feel disheartened. We will talk about these things in detail. But the thing is, the reason why I say that we have talked about this is a sort of call for you to think about what we have discussed already. The other thing is, there is also a silent message here that you have to be regular with the things that we discuss, right? Of course, I do understand that many of you have just joined this discussion a week or 2 weeks ago, but stay with me. In future, when there will be a proper occasion, we will discuss these things, and I will provide you all these facts and other things again, but I cannot repeat everything. We have limited time. The other thing is that regular students are the ones, right? If you are regular, then you will reap the maximum benefit of this discussion. Anyways, dear friends, if you compare Singapore with our country, now you know that Singapore is a city-state, right? It's a very small place when you compare it with a country like India. Look at the geographical diversity that we have. Look at the cultural diversity that we have in our country. Look at the UNESCO's heritage site. Look at the biodiversity hotspots, and I can go on and on. We have all these things, right? We have on one side very traditional or classical Bharat, and on the other side we have very latest and modern 21st century India. We have mix of both. So there are so many things to explore in our country. But are we basically, you can say, exploiting the potential to its optimum? The answer is no. There are many reasons behind it. Very briefly, first of all, the most important thing is security. Do you think that people coming from different parts of the world, do they feel secure in our country when they are coming here with their families? I'm sure you might have observed and you might have learned or heard this thing that particularly women, right, and in particular white women are, they are harassed in the sense, people, well, there are few idiots out there, they will try to chat with them and thinking that they will develop some sort of relationship with that tourists, they come here to enjoy, to learn something about our country, right? They already know that if you go to their embassies, right, if you go to this places, like they have already, they find these advertisements and other things, that if you are going to India, what are the things that you have to be careful with, and other things, right? You have to there are so many things. I'm sure you know about all these things. So, and then we find this news items of tourists being raped, they are harassed, they are beaten, case of Agra and other places. So if we are going to do this sort of behavior, then we are going to lose it. The other thing is cleanliness and lack of facilities, particularly if you are traveling, right? You hardly find good clean toilets in our country. This is a very taboo sort of topic, but it's true. I'm sure you might have faced this situation, particularly when you're traveling with female members of your family and your loved ones and your friends. You find it very, it's very difficult to find good toilets, clean good toilets. And this may look not that important, but if you see it from European perspective, then you find that it's a big thing, and because of all these things, they don't come here. And what about our domestic tourists, right? See, here you have this beautiful places like Darjeeling and other places, but what we find is that people go there and they chuck plastic here and there. They are just destroying the beauty of Himalayas, and then you have local people who are looking after it. So we have to promote tourism. It can create more jobs, more formal jobs for our youngsters compared to manufacturing or compared to any other sector, right? Take IT, take other things. Tourism has huge potential. If we just focus on tourism, then we can create so many jobs. Our job issue can go away. UK is not going to ease visa entry for Indian students, and when it comes to India and UK's relationship, then we have this cultural tie-up, then we have this shared history, and then we have this student exchange program, or this Indian students traveling to UK for higher education. This is a very important string of this relationship. But if they are going to be partial with us, right, they have given some sort of leniency to China, Bahrain, Indonesia and Maldives, but India is not in the list. So this is going to be a bit of problem for UK from India. India is going to raise this issue. Now you have this, China has hit back with tariffs on USA's goods. This is a sort of tit for tat, but I have explained to you, and I would like to remind you that this thing is not good for globalization at all, right? We will find it for time being, it will be beneficial for countries like India and other countries, this sort of war between two big countries. But on a long run, on a mid run, it is not going to be beneficial for globalization. We need to end this sort of behavior. Then you have this NABARD's report. It is about water. We are using too much, right? Excessive water. 80%. Can you believe that 80% of our country's water resources are diversified or used for producing agricultural crops and other items? Now imagine if you are leaving one bowl of rice, if you are ordering something at hotel, or if you are cooking and if you are not finishing and throwing away in the bin, you are not just chucking away rice or your rotis, but you are also, this water that was used, a huge amount of water, you are also wasting that. We have to work on it. We need to apply this drip irrigation, micro irrigation facility, and we have to have our farmers should have this mantra. Success mantra is per drop more crop. Without it, we are going to face some serious crisis of water. Now, interesting science and tech or environment related item here. The reason why lizards, they do this push-ups sort of thing, and comical push-ups and head bobs and sudden transform with their color and other thing, is because of this it's basically a signal. It's an advertisement, particularly by males, right? It's a mating call by males. So keep this thing in mind, right? You may find MCQs based on this item. And then you have this storms that were going on in Mars that has hindered this solar recharge thing of or solar recharge power of this NASA's rover, Mars rover. And at present it is in a sort of hibernate mode. But if this thing will continue, if you will have this clouds of dust, then chances are that this may sleep, this rover may go for a long sleep, right, and it may never wake up. So let's hope. And then you have two items in different sources. It's not in the Hindu, but I thought let me share it with you guys. It's a sort of curtain raiser that President Kovind is in Greek capital of Athens, and then he's going to head towards Suriname and Cuba, and Prime Minister is going to govern this council, Niti Ayog's governing council. He's going to head it. With this, you have this answers, and then you have two questions, one descriptive question. Thank you very much for listening. Make sure you make the most out of this 50% discount. And dear friends, don't forget to hit the like button and do share this lecture with other people as well. Enjoy your Sunday. Thank you very much. God bless you all. Jai Hind.